The suspect in Kware murder, where he was arraigned before court, taken into lawful custody, but all of a sudden we are told he disappeared. But the issue of Kware is a national issue. Over 15 or so young bodies of female were found there. But for that individual to just disappear in thin air, with technology, with the human resource that we have, with the capacity in terms of special units that we have in our country, then that young man should not disappear in thin air.
True, no more extrajudicial killing. We support that. If indeed the honorable members and the 29 other missing Kenyans have been arrested, they have the family of those missing people have every right to know. So it will be very good for the authorities to come out and say these people have been arrested so that the loved ones can see their people.
I would like to see the police giving Kenyans updates on what's happening. There's a problem, there's a gap. We need to be told all the time. Like now, this issue of Lee, where yesterday I watched somebody carrying body parts in these carrier bags, 2, and he was taking the body parts, delivering somewhere. That is a very worrying. And you see, when people look at those images, it is worrying.
That was again below this. It did not come clear. But I think the House is remembering. On 31st, police officers in Langata found skeleton of a human being. This human being, the skeleton, we are connecting again to the same suspect who killed the 3. It's a lady. We are just waiting for DNA to connect, but for technically, we have connected the suspect to the body and the crime.
That's a case of interest. We are still hunting down on that serial here. We have already once again been to the print media, requesting the members of the public once again to assist us with any kind of information that can assist us in laying our hands on him. And I will still do it even today to request the public to assist us so that we can be able to get that dangerous person, to get him out. And to add that, we are also working very, very closely with the National Intelligence Service in terms of getting additional intelligences of where these kind of crimes can easily be committed. And then from there, our men and women are actively engaged to ensure that our presence can also act as a deterrent to some of these.
I feel very privileged to be here today to talk about the role of Parliament in advancing Kenya's foreign policy. Kenyan foreign policy agenda, a really important issue and something we have discussed both within our offices, on the streets, in the media, and often, as Waziri has discussed it during Parliament meetings. We have at length discussed what Bunge can help us in understanding and explaining the role that this ministry plays across the country and to the population and so on. So this is a really important conversation, and I want to extend my sincere gratitude to the State Department for Foreign Affairs, both for organizing and for convening us here, but also for giving us an opportunity to ventilate things that we usually don't have an opportunity to ventilate with our various stakeholders. As you know, by now, our foreign policy really is underpinned by the steadfast commitment to project, promote, and protect the country's interests across the globe. The one interest that I am more concerned about than others is our nationals outside of this country. And as you're aware, the diaspora pillar, but I'm aware we're now using language like themes within the review process of this policy. The diaspora pillar has been one of the 5 core pillars that have guided our foreign policy work and our engagement strategy, and it really underscores our commitment to support, protect, empower, and prosper our diaspora. Our diaspora, as you're aware, now numbers something close to 4 million Kenyans living abroad. That's a huge number. That's 8% of our entire population. That is larger than the city of Nairobi during the day. As we all know, the city of Nairobi has 2 populations, the daytime population, which is all of us as we come in from our various neighborhoods, and the nighttime population, which is a little bit smaller. And as you're aware, also we have, as an administration, taken a particular interest in ensuring that our work with the diaspora is both strategic and supportive, that we have been set up to structure our response and support to the diaspora. Perhaps one other number that I have spoken to Bunge about often is, and it's an important number, is a $4.2 billion number, which is the remittances that we receive from our diaspora every year. Last year was 4.2 billion, and this year we are looking at closing at a much higher number than that. The reason I mention this is to underscore the importance of this group of people who, through small ticket sizes, sending home a little bit of money to support their families, a little bit of money to help pay for a burial and so on, have surpassed foreign exchange earnings from coffee, from tea, from tourism, from horticulture, and so on. So this is a critical a group, and that we are working on supporting. A policy-driven approach, of course, is critical. It allows us to bring together our thoughts and to interrogate them, and to socialize them to colleagues across government and across other stakeholders. The review, therefore, of this foreign policy allows us to sit back and ask ourselves important questions. And I'm grateful that part of this engagement is sitting down with Bunge, not just to explain what this foreign policy is, but to hear, especially from Bunge as representatives of the people, what does this foreign policy mean? What is the language that makes sense to the people of Kenya on the ground? And how can Parliament, particularly this committee that oversights this ministry and that is involved in budgeting processes for this ministry, do more to help Kenya project, to help this ministry to project and promote Kenya's national interests?
I'm so honored to join His Excellency the Prime Cabinet Secretary, my colleague, the departmental committee, and all of us this morning, and the entire team of the State Department for Foreign Affairs in this breakfast roundtable on the very important matter that is the review of the Kenya's foreign policy. At this juncture, I wish to note various legislative strides that we have made as the executive on the labor migration space. Firstly, the labor migration policy is already in Parliament for consideration, session of paper number 5 of 2023, while the executive's labor migration and management bill shall be introduced to Parliament very soon. I believe those 2 legislative initiatives are very key, even as we work on this policy, foreign policy. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is an anchor state to the international community as well as our regional brothers and sisters. It therefore remains a commitment of this administration to see to it that Kenya is respected and valued abroad. We also remain alive to our manifesto commitments in a number of foreign policy fronts, which include leveraging our international engagements to create opportunities for our people, supporting the work and decisions of international organizations that Kenya has joined or ratified, deepening our bonds with our long-standing international and bilateral partners, and extending our friendship to anyone with whom we believe a mutually beneficial relationship can be formed. I do believe, ladies and gentlemen, that the reviewed foreign policy embodies the necessary foundation from which we shall collectively reimagine the foreign policy of the 21st century. I know that this committee, the Departmental Committee on Defense, plays a very key role in supporting the development of this policy. The shaping of, they actually shape the development of this policy. They support in legislating or supporting the improvement, the approval of that policy, and you play a key role in oversighting to ensure that the implementation actually meets the intended purpose. You also play a very key role in resourcing the State Department to be able to implement the policy. And I therefore really wish to request the Committee on Defense, led by the able chair, Honorable Nelson Kware, to support the shaping, the implementation, and the resourcing of the State Department to be able to implement the policy, the Kenya's foreign policy.
Remain upstanding so that we
are proud to have two key departments, the State Department. We also focus on Pan-Africanism, economic and social. The list of the consultations, that very good relationships with both the West.
Ambassador Lucy Kiruthu, who is going to take us through the presentations on the
question. Are we now facing east or west? Actually, we have only started to share in a restrictive diplomacy and contribute towards a just. I think I always add that if we forget everything else that we had in this plot, we are talking about digital diplomacy, global health diplomatic missions. And we are also serving about 29 missions in Africa, another 15 years foreign policy. And our vision is very serious in cultural diplomacy. However, there are insights and inputs into the.
When you say it's Kenya's foreign policy, is the deployment of the personnel in the foreign service reflective of that Kenyan foreign policy? Are we being fair when we look at ourselves, when we look at the deployment? These are fundamental issues that we must clear. And we clear by having coherent and objective policy positions on this matter. And that is why I have been insisting that we really must domesticate our foreign policy to get a better buy-in. We have a situation where the challenges of our employees, our officers, men and women, and they're very patriotic, I must admit, because sometimes we deploy them, but we have not taken proper account of the consumer price index in those different countries. We make it look like it is just a unilateral engagement. So I must commend these officers. They've stood out, but sometimes it is extremely difficult because we have not resourced them appropriately. They have families, they have children who must go to school. But have we done justice to them with the policy position that we have been maintaining, which we have been perhaps being hesitant to address and to confront? I want us to confront that so that in our policy position we change things. We have a situation where we must balance. New blood is good, but what are we doing to the professional diplomats in our system? What are we doing with them? A young cadet who joins Foreign Affairs has one ambition. One day, I want to be an ambassador. He or she slogs every morning, every evening, because they want that. Then from somewhere, Mudavadi comes in, kutoka Mululu, and then the next thing, I overlook all these career diplomats and I just load the place with people who have never been in the system. So what are we doing to our foreign service? Aren't we demoralizing them? So what should be the ratio? Should it be a ratio of 70 in-house developed and 30% infusion? Either from the private sector, from other areas, to blend it. So we must make some hard decisions. And those hard decisions can only stand if Parliament is with us. Then there's the other aspect. Fundamentally, why do we engage? Is because we really want to have a strong partnership and we want to bring benefits to the people of Kenya. So economic diplomacy becomes very, very essential. We are a free market economy as Kenya. And if we are a free market economy, how does that thread move into our foreign policy? Because you and I, that is the committee, and ourselves, we have this challenge of how do we get foreign direct investment coming into Kenya and benefiting Kenya. So through our policies around here, sometimes we need to be very careful because we want to be able to project a nation that is clear on its economic policy, but also a nation that focuses on what is right, where do we stand on human rights, where do we stand on democratic principles. Sometimes the government of Kenya is a beneficiary of support through bursaries. Have we over the years in our policy have we defined how we can make sure that there's equity in the allocation of these opportunities to Kenyans, so that we are not accused that Musalia, sitting at the headquarters, is doling out scholarships behind the tent. So what are the issues that we want to bring, so that we also bring transparency around our engagement with the foreign friends, but also connecting with our people? You will recall that during the Gen Z, there was this question that came out, that why does a president travel? What is he going to do? How is it benefiting us? So we need to figure out, can we answer some of these questions by having a more inclusive policy orientation, where people can see meaning and value in the engagements that we are having with our people. Why do we join other entities? Why, what is BRICS? What does it mean to us? Okay. What is the G20? What does it mean to us as a people? What is the G7? What is our role in multilateralism? We want to pursue and make Kenya an international hub for multilateralism. We are lucky. We have the former station of Mheshimiwa there, Hassan, the UNEP, they're here. Habitat is here. And other entities are craving to come here. So we need to ask ourselves, is it of value to us when we have these international entities joining us? Right now, for instance, outside Washington, the largest World Bank hub is now in Nairobi. The largest, outside Washington, D.C. So the World Bank here, becoming the hub for, and they are talking to us, I'm sure my colleagues know, because they also want us to engage a little further so that we can consolidate their position as a hub in Kenya. And therefore, that calls for a partnership on how we look at the host country agreements and how we partner with Parliament to support us in this. Because you can imagine if you heard that they now want to shift their hub to another area. I think we would be failing the Kenyans if we lost the World Bank as a hub, the largest outside the United States, globally rather. No? So these are very, very important issues. And what are the benefits? These people are paid in forex, foreign currency. We need foreign currency here. We need expertise to grow here. We need that to filter back into our arrangements. We have a demography that is youthful. Median age, as we all know, we are 20 for Kenya. 19.6, that's the median age. So what do we project? We project a vibrant society We project a society where consumption is also going to be high, but we also see a society where jobs are going to be very critical for people to be stable and so forth. How do we convert these seemingly difficult situations into opportunities for the people of Kenya through our foreign policy? Today, we are engaging with yourselves, and there are others that are lined up and others that have also been approached and talked to. I'm sure when the presentation is made of the roadmap to this process, you will get a better picture. Now, the issue I want to put across to you is, what aren't we doing right? I think these are just the basic questions that you can help us answer. What aren't we doing right? What do you think we should do? You have hinted that there are issues that through your studies, you're noticing gaps that may be impeding our ability to engage appropriately. So this is where we would want to draw from your observations as much as possible. We are here this morning, and there's a change of government in the US where there's a new president. And we all know that since 1964, for instance, we have been engaging with the United States. But different issues have emerged over time. So we will now be looking at how do we continue to further our national interest as we operate in an environment where there's that. Of course, there are many changes. Half the world was going into election this year. As you may have noticed. But where does Kenya stand as we move forward? What are the things that we need to pivot? What are the things we need to be focused on? What are the pillars, if we may not use the word pillar, what is our North Star? In all these things, what is our North Star when we are talking about our foreign policy? There are tough questions that we want you to help us. Budgetary-wise, how can you help us to strengthen our position? Is it that we have not been giving you sufficient information to help us obtain the necessary resourcing from Parliament? We would be looking forward to your advice on issues of how do we realize our assets globally, because we have assets globally, but are we getting the best value for them? These are factors that I think you would really help us as Parliament so that we work together on some of these things. Sometimes Parliament or the public is consumed with the vetting of ambassadors, to the extent that the ordinary person sometimes just thinks that the job of that committee is going to be vetting ambassadors, because it's perhaps the most visible moment when you're emerging out of an election, or you're just about to have new representatives, and then focus is on you. But I'm sure we all know that it goes beyond. In fact, that is a very minuscule aspect of your responsibilities. But how can we move forward more appropriately? You've talked a lot about the parliamentary democracy. the other institutions that we engage with. Let us see how we can consolidate that even more as we go forward.